Hello again, this is Pastor John of Crossway Multinational Church with another episode of our Crosslight podcast. Today I want to highlight an aspect of our radiant vision. So to say it again, we believe that God is calling us to be what Jesus was intending, a radiant church, a church without wrinkle or blemish or any spot, a church that expresses the joy and life and glory of God. We long to be that. We know we are far from it, and yet we are confident that Jesus is building his church. One of the things that we specifically want to do that expresses this vision is what we call Crossway conversations. The idea of this, as we've described it, is carrying optimistic conversations across differences with a bridge to action. We're really impressed with the idea of genuine conversation where we see things differently. We care about these things, and yet we come together caring for each other, optimistic about the good that we will find, eager to learn from each other, and wanting to make a difference in the world by these conversations leading to action. The differences that shape or that are a part of these conversations include different opinions, different perspectives. We see things differently. We emphasize different things. We may disagree about what's real, yet we want to come together across these differences. We have different cultures that have different values, understand the world different ways. And we have different communication styles and strategies. Some of us are very quick and free with sharing our ideas, and others find that to be incredibly challenging because the honorable thing is not to speak until somebody invites us to. So across these differences, we want to understand and to practice how it is to have genuine, rich conversations across these differences. And we see this as a critical need in our world today. It is far easier to divide, to judge, to separate, than it is to come together across differences, especially when we care. It's so easy to pick our own channel, so to speak, and then when that channel doesn't fit, to switch to another one. We choose to come together with people where we see things differently. And we find the richness that comes in learning together and building relationships, seeing God's work through these differences. Sometimes these conversations are about hard things, and it is challenging. It doesn't just have to be about hard things, though. They can be about valuable things that aren't so hard, valuable things that we share a lot about and are eager to learn together. Either way, we want to be a part of that journey. Before we formed as a church, some of us were part of something at Michigan State University that we called the Chapel Dialogues. We met in the chapel on campus and would have dialogues. We would talk about challenging things. We would talk about things without simple answers. We would share multiple perspectives. And this was an important time for us to learn together what it is to try to understand hard things, to hear people who see things differently, and to do it together. In the early days for our church governance was largely run by what we called Sunday conversations. Sunday afternoons, once a month, we would just invite anybody who wanted to come, and we would have a conversation about important things in the life of the church, things that we had to make some decisions about, how we were going to deal with money, how we were going to deal with telling people about our church, how the church would run. We don't anticipate going back to governance by open dialogue, although there's very interesting things about that. That was an important and wonderful season as a church. Yet now we want to figure out what can we do to have these same kinds of conversations that cover many different things. So recently, we had a conversation about culture and money, realizing that we think about money very differently in different cultures. And it was wonderful to hear the different perspectives and to be enriched by that. We had a conversation about our new core value and trying to understand superabounding grace and complete obedience to Jesus Christ. And it was an important one that led to action of changing some things that were proposed and eventually approving it. So we want to keep moving forward. So one is we want to pray. So I invite you to pray that we would learn how to do this, that God would help us, believing that this is a super valuable thing for our congregation and something that's really needed in the world around us. So we want to pray. And we also want to learn. And if this catches your attention, We're looking for some people who might be game to be a part of a test bed, to get together and try some ideas about these dialogues and learning from others, learning from wonderful research and other things that others have done, things that we have done, and to try these out to see what makes sense among us. And the idea is not just to be abstract, but to actually engage in the conversations together and to see where we go, and to learn how to guide us as a church. And the hope is, our stated goal is in the coming year to have 3 of these as a church that would be significant things for us to talk about, to learn from, and perhaps to replicate, to use them again. We believe that being unified across important differences is really important. And it's a rich and wonderful thing about the community that God has called us into. And so we want to join in this, believing it will lead to the kind of radiance that Jesus intends. I'm convinced that in the new heaven and the new earth, we won't automatically see everything the same way. We will continue to have different perspectives, to have different experiences, and yet it will be without any conflict or sin. It will be with care, with curiosity, with optimism, and with a growing understanding of God's goodness and the world He has made. So will you join with us as we pray and pursue what He has called us to?